Total Warhammer 3, a game about outsmarting your enemies and extorting your allies.
I will listen, but my time is short.
Yes. Yes, it is. An adventure of various anime protagonists battling the literal demons inside and around them, where kaiju battles and war crimes are the norm. But first, take a break from this war to enter another. Warhaven is coming back for a free-to-play week starting June 19th and has sponsored me to tell you to play for free. As a lover of medieval combat, what gave you that idea? I really enjoyed Warhaven during the beta, and I'm excited to play it again. If you don't know what Warhaven is, it's a 16v16 PvP game where guns haven't been invented yet, so we fight the old-fashioned way. Combat is simple, hit them more than they hit you, but hard to master with various counters and abilities to keep players on their toes. Play as one of 6 classes and work together with your team to achieve victory. Or don't. I can't force you to do anything. If you do go solo, you better make sure you're the team MVP so you can get the chance to play as one of the Immortals. Godlike beings with crazy powers that can completely turn a battle around and delete entire squads. To stay up to date with all news Warhaven, make sure you click the link in my description to add the game to your wishlist right now. Thank you again, Warhaven. Now back to Warhammer. Set in the world of Warhammer, a medieval land inspired by fantasy pioneers like Tolkien, Lucas,
I hate snow,
and the Chinese, you grow your faction from a tiny speck on the map into a global superpower. How do you do that? Well, it isn't called Total Cozy Friendship Time now, is it? There are 3 single-player campaigns. The first is a tutorial prologue that follows Slavic Prince Arthas, and if you know your Warcraft lore, you know exactly how well that ends. The prologue sets up Daniel, the player insert demon Barbie, one of the legendary lords you can use in the Realm of Chaos, Game 3's main campaign. The base game factions are all fighting over Kislev's bear god Urson. Some want to rescue him, some want to torture him, and some want to eat him. Everyone's got a reason to fight through the realms of each Chaos God to get to him, except for these 7. As post-release DLC factions, they've got their own agendas, but they're still present on the map whether you're playing as them or if you even bought them. The same is true for the main course, Immortal Empires, which combines the map and races from games 1, 2, and 3 into one giant super sandbox with roughly 280 factions, no narrative handholding, the freedom to go anywhere, and giving you a chance to rewrite one of the worst fanfictions ever. You don't need the first 2 games to play Immortal Empires, unless you want to play with all the cool toys. Purchasing any game or DLC will unlock the respective races and factions, but you can't redeem any free LC unless you own at least one faction from that race. The exception being the French, because their entire faction is free LC. Now, I'm not going to pretend for a second I know a single thing about tabletop Warhammer, nor do I care to, but I do know that Total Warhammer is way cheaper. For the price of one single tabletop army, you can own and play as everything in the game. Of course, you don't need to. And you really should just wait for a sale anyways. Just purchase what you want. Hell, I still haven't purchased the ogres. Regardless of who you choose to start as, Total Warhammer 3 will make you an expert on urban planning, an armchair general, and a con artist. Settlement management looks intimidating, but is actually really simple. Build the things that give you what you want. In the early game, it's growth and gold. Smaller towns only have so much real estate. It's only by cramming it full of people and expanding it into a bigger city that you unlock more buildings and more cool toys to play with. Of course, you gotta pay for that, somehow. So consider printing your own money, taking it from those guys over there, or finding another spot to set up shop.
free real estate.
You can move an army anywhere in the green zone, and moving into a rival army or settlement will initiate a battle. If they don't retreat, and don't worry, nobody can pull a bikini bottom, you can manually fight the battle, or have the game crunch the numbers and automatically resolve it for you. While you may be tempted to auto-resolve everything because you assume the game is right, or you don't have an SSD, you often lose more soldiers than you would have if you fought manually. The auto-resolve isn't perfect either. There's plenty of battles the AR says I would have lost that are totally winnable, even if barely, and the opposite is also true. The only way to find out when it's lying or telling the truth is just to play as many battles as possible to learn what armies are capable of doing what. And hey, if worst comes to worst, you can always save scum. Battles in Total Warhammer are what you imagined you were doing with your action figures as a kid, but much cooler. You start out by setting up your troops, then you smash them together. You win a battle when there's no enemies left to fight, either because you killed them all, or they ran away. Leadership represents a unit's bravery in battle, and works exactly how you think it would. Getting flanked, trampled by cavalry, taking significant casualties, and coming face to face with unspeakable horrors are all very valid reasons to run from a fight. To keep them from turning tail, make sure to give units a favorable matchup, don't have them run a marathon before fighting, and keep them close to your lord. Lords are superpowered individuals with outrageous power who don't need a regiment of units to back them up, and sometimes don't even need the rest of their army. Aside from abilities that some consider to be unnatural, they're good at reassuring nearby units that they're doing a good job. Just make sure to keep them safe, because if the enemies manage to take down a superpowered demigod, the rest of the army isn't going to feel too good about their chances. After a victory, you've got options on how to deal with the captured soldiers or city. With cities, you can free the citizens.
More like under new management.
Liberate them of all their shiny things first. Leave the city with all of the shiny things, or leave it in ruins. Keep in mind that there is no gentle way to loot and occupy a settlement, and the buildings will be damaged, possibly costing you more than you looted if you want to repair them immediately. It also absolutely kills the population's vibes, reducing the level of control you have over the province. Provinces are typically made up of one major and at least one minor settlement. Major settlements can grow up to tier 5, while minor ones cap out at 3. The levels of control and corruption are province-wide and can be affected by who owns settlements in the province, who steps foot in it, or RNGesus. If control gets too low, fewer people will want to fight for you, and eventually they'll rebel and form their own faction. High levels of corruption also have adverse effects if you're not a fan of it. Control and corruption can be corrected by constructing buildings to fight the corruption or pacify the populace, having armies and characters correct these issues, or issuing commandments if you own the entire province. Commandments provide province-wide buffs to things like control, income, growth, or recruitment. While in an owned region, you can enlist soldiers from any of your recruitment buildings in the province, and many factions can enter a settlement or encamp stance anywhere on the map to access the global recruitment pool. You can hire any unit you've unlocked, but since Amazon Prime doesn't exist yet, with heavy import fees and usually minimum 2-day shipping, recruitment, like buildings, can take 1 or more turns to complete. Once you've completed your turn, everyone else has a chance to make their moves. Your faction's R&D department also works on a turn-by-turn basis, and these bonuses can have a huge impact on your economy or military. Another one of the most important things to keep note of from turn to turn is how much money you're projected to earn, or lose. Even though it is the literal end times, you've still gotta pay your workers and soldiers on the off chance you actually survive this whole thing. Money is necessary to pay your armies to protect your cities that are earning money to pay for more armies to protect even more settlements. Sometimes though, you don't have any enemies to take it from, so we'll just have to take it from our friends. The game calls it diplomacy, I call it extortion. Factions that like you, are afraid of you, or you're stronger than may be willing to hand over some cash as long as you promise not to eradicate them. But that's small-time stuff. The real money is usually in agreeing to go to war with far-off factions that you'll likely never encounter. Just make sure you're really not going to encounter them, or else that could come back to bite you later in the campaign. Another get-rich-quick scheme is playing Repo Man for your allies, repossessing stolen territories and holding them for ransom. As turns go on, relations with other factions will increase or decrease depending on your actions and their own relationships with other factions. As you make deals with other factions and generally do things they approve of, they may offer to become best buddies and join in on any wars declared on you, or any wars you declare. If nothing else, at least allies offer a decent buffer zone between you and your enemies. Before a turn ends, it's always a good idea to check out the diplomacy menu to see what money-making opportunities present themselves. The thing is though, you can't make everyone like you. Some races just don't get along, and it's only by throwing yourself into all of their wars and donating staggering amounts of cash that you can overcome their prejudices. You might even think just because you're a servant of chaos that you and your demon of chaos neighbor's ideas align. Well, you'd be wrong. Nobody in Warhammer tolerates racism because they embrace it.
Yes, rah, smash, kill. You have until the sands run from this glass to bark your nonsense.
Whether you want to be one of the last bastions of order in a world overrun by chaos, or the whole fucking problem. Whether you prefer sending hate mail, or expressing your feelings face to face. Or whether you want to drown your enemies in a tide of bodies, or crush them with dinosaurs, riding even bigger dinosaurs. There's a race and a faction for you. The game officially recommends the Empire, High Elves, and Cathay as the most beginner-friendly. The Empire is fractured, greenskins are wreaking havoc, the Beastmen are knocking at the capital's door, war with the vampires is imminent, and it's only turn 15. Despite this, the Empire is one of the best ways to learn the game, even if you fall flat on your face. You could break combat down to rock, paper, scissors, but you forgot, we're playing total Warhammer.
Put me down!
Bye-bye.
It's more like rock, paper, scissors, gun, dynamite, nuke, lightning, devil, dragon, alien, water, bowl, air, moon, sponge, wolf, cockroach, tree, man, woman, monkey, snake, axe, fire, sun. Yeah, that's the real basics. The Empire's front line is not super strong, especially when compared to the Greenskins or Beastmen. However, give their spearmen shields and suddenly they can block some arrow fire and hold the line longer, giving ranged units a chance to fill the furries full of arrows. Spears are also more effective against larger targets, which your enemies have in abundance. But what happens if a greenie gets smart enough to put on armor? Thankfully, the geniuses in Reichland have come up with a solution: sharper sticks and guns. There's only one catch. You can't shoot bullets up and over like arrows, unless you want to start talking to your front line about the rabbits. There's two solutions: arrange your army in a way that leaves direct line of sight for your gunners, or get a shorter front line. The Empire and dwarfs are usually the best of friends, unless you happen to make one small mistake, in which case they record it in the Dwarfen Death Note and set out to right the wrongs made against them. If you manage to avoid going in the book and happen to get a defensive or military alliance with them, you can construct an outpost in one of their settlements and recruit up to 4 units per army. As dwarfs aren't the most agile, it's also a good idea to have cavalry of your own to tie up enemy cav or monsters while your gunners or artillery rain hell. The Empire's artillery is, well, I'll let it speak for itself. But what if the enemy army also brings artillery? Then it's a good thing you've got Outriders, nimble ranged cavalry who can be deployed anywhere that isn't in the big red box. Units like these aren't great in direct combat, but excel at harassing the enemy and isolating enemy units. Congratulations, General, you've managed to repel the Greenskins and the Beastmen, but now the vampires are marching our way, albeit slowly. As the vampires don't have any ranged units, it's okay to ditch the shields for something that can cut down the endless hordes a bit more efficiently. And fire. Literally. The Empire has access to a variety of different magical wizards, and pyromancy just so happens to be the perfect counter to necromancy. Every spell costs magic to use, and your supply of magic isn't endless. You can see how much magic juice your army has on the campaign map. It fluctuates depending on how strong the winds of magic are in each region, or if your army is channeling the magic. Armies have a variety of stances they can take, each with their own benefits and drawbacks. Channeling magic limits how far you can move. Marching an army will let them go farther, but they'll be too tired to start a battle. If they happen to get attacked though, there's no retreat and they'll be too tired to fight efficiently. Raiding steals income from the local region, causes an uproar, and makes the region owner hate you. And Camp Stance lets you replenish your troops even when in foreign territory and helps avoid taking damage from corruption. But of course, you're in a camp, you're not going to be able to move very far. Finally, the Ambush Stance does exactly what you think it would. The terrain affects how successful your ambush will be, and any army who doesn't spot it and walks into it begins the battle at a massive disadvantage. Using all of these tactics, I've managed to nearly unite the Empire, help our cold neighbors to the north, and even help the stupid elves on their stupid donut. My alliances were solid, and nothing could stop us from vanquishing the forces of chaos. Except for one small issue.
You are listed in the Great Book of Grudges many times, Ungi. The old alliance is dead. Get my axe. March on, brave Dowie. Nothing can stop us. Slay the Oathbreakers.
Well, time for a new campaign. Thank you for watching, thank you to Warhaven for sponsoring this video, and thank you to my supporters on Patreon, especially Shadow and Josh. Have a good one. Go play the game, it's stupid fun.